So this is the progress report. This is the first Wednesday.
It is the last Wednesday in October.
It's the last Wednesday in October. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
It is Halloween.
In your glory. In your glory. And this is
my glory. This is
the last program we're going to be doing before we vote in the most amazingly critical and important midterm election in a long time.
Since the last midterm election, which was the most critical and important midterm election.
Yeah, but I think it's more true now.
They're getting more and more critical as we go along.
Ever. This whole midterm election is about one question. Will President Trump, with his authoritarian tendencies, his fascist tendencies, let me say that.
Holy cow.
Fascist tendencies.
You're going against all the instructions of the Democratic Party.
I can't help it. I mean, I believe this guy has no regard for our democratic checks and balances in this country, the Constitution. I think this guy is a menace to our democracy. Will he be checked or will he be not? That's what I think is at stake, and I want everybody out there, whether you agree with me or not, I want you to go out and vote. Because
so you're nationalizing the election.
I am nationalizing.
That's the best approach.
You know, Tip O'Neill famously said all politics is local. This may be the exception to that. This may be the politics that is national, and Trump has made it national. Are we going to be xenophobic? Are we going to be turning the torch of the Statue of Liberty and turning it out and turning away people? Not that we
suspending the 14th Amendment by executive order.
Suspending the 14th Amendment by executive order.
See, when we say that, we fire up the Republicans, though. So maybe.
Well, let them be fired up. I think there's more of us than there are of them. I really do. And in any event, here we are. It's Halloween. We have a glorious October coming to a close tonight. We're about to move into November, which is just a few days. What is it? 5 days before we all vote on November 6th in our various polling places here in the city of Manchester. And how pleased could I be to be next to my good friend Mike Farley, who seems to be Superman.
I am Mr.
I always thought he was Superman.
Independent voter man.
Now apparently it's manifested itself.
I am independent voter man, and I am very powerful this time of year. That's what the I stands for. Actually, the costume is Mr. Incredible, which I am also. But today I'm here to represent independent voters. I want to kind of come at it with the mindset of the independent voter, which is a very powerful voter during these midterms, and especially these. Turnout is going to be the story. In New Hampshire, there are more, we call them undeclared voters, but independent, non-aligned voters than either of the two parties. And the independent voter is going to be very important in this election.
Yeah. And
the question is,
5 days.
Six actually, but
6. Is it 6?
Well, tomorrow's the 1st, so.
Yeah, that's right. Tomorrow's the 1st.
But Tuesday.
You know, this. Please vote. My God, if you all vote, especially young people, but everybody, but especially young people, we may save this democracy from the assault by the authoritarian right. And I think it's nothing less than that we're dealing with. And
well, my POTUS report talks a little bit about that, actually.
Well,
can we get to that?
Can you do that?
I'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay, we have a POTUS report.
I wanted to jump on some news. I've kind of moved a little sideways on my POTUS report in the past, and I noticed that we have reporting now coming out from Natasha Bertrand at the Atlantic, I believe, that there is was an attempt to gin up a false claim of sexual misconduct against Robert Mueller. Special counsel. And we know this because a woman has come forward, a law professor from Vermont has come forward. And
who is that, by the way? Do you know?
I'm sorry, I don't have the name, but she did report that she was approached via email asking her if she'd be interested in making a claim of sexual harassment against Bob Mueller. Initially, she thought it was a bizarre claim, but ultimately passed it on to Special Counsel Mueller, who in turn passed it on directly to the FBI, which is what you do when you get news like this. You don't type back and say, "Fantastic, let's do this," as we've seen some other people do.
When the Russians tell you want to help you be elected over your opponent, why wouldn't you refer that to the FBI?
But it goes further, because I just heard this afternoon that there is some possibility that the effort to recruit this woman to create the false attack against Mueller might itself have been a hoax. And when I heard this, my brain is very fragile, but it began to spin. And I was...
But your body is spectacular.
Today especially, I'm very powerful this time of year. But I was reminded of a term that some people may have thought about, but I think it applies to what's going on here. It's called gaslighting. The term comes from a 1944 movie called Gaslight.
Oh, yeah.
Wherein...
Which Ingrid Bergman won an Academy Award for.
A very famous movie, and the plot of the movie is essentially that a husband convinces his wife that she is insane.
Yes, that's right.
I took a little time to research it, and I have some information from Psychology Today, and I'm going to quote them. Gaslighting is a tactic in which a person or entity, in order to gain more power, makes a victim question their reality. It works much better than you may think. Anyone is susceptible to gaslighting, and it is a common technique of abusers, dictators, narcissists, and cult leaders. And they outline 11 factors that go into the process of gaslighting. 1, they tell blatant lies. 2, they deny they ever said something, even though you have proof. 3, they use what is near and dear to you as ammunition. 4, they wear you down over time. 5, their actions do not match their words. 6, they throw in positive reinforcement to confuse you. 7, they know confusion weakens people. 8, they project. In other words, if they're a drug abuser, they say you are a drug abuser. 9, they try to align people against you. 10, they tell you or others that you are crazy. And 11, they tell you everyone else is a liar. And I don't know about you, but about 10 of the 11 things I just read are very familiar to what I've seen going on in our administration today. So I'm very concerned. This is actually a thing. I am not a psychologist, but apparently this is actually a thing, and according to Psychology Today, it's very easy to do and very effective. And so I bring it to everybody's attention to just look out for it, because if you're like me, or maybe I'm alone, but it's getting very confusing. It's getting very difficult to understand what to believe and what not to believe. And we really have to not lose touch with the objective reality that we all know was out there before 2016.
Wow.
And that's the progress report for today.
You know, you left out the one thing I remember from the Nazi era, the big lie. Goebbels said, tell a lie, make it a big one. There's somewhere hidden in the very interstices of the lie a little germ of truth.
There's got to be some basis in truth, and I think
basis in truth, and then repeat it often. That's the big lie. That's what we're seeing.
You mean like the mob at the door on our southern border so badly that we have to send the army?
Yeah. Well, there's not even a kernel of truth in that, so I don't know as I can count that one. I mean, it's just appalling what we're going through now.
Well, and that's some of what's at stake.
So why are you Superman tonight?
I'm Mr. Independent Voter Man. It's Halloween, and I am here to represent the what I believe to be the interests of the independent voter, because they are going to be so important. Are they going to be turned off by both parties? Are they going to be gaslighted to the point that they don't want to participate? Or are they going to say, no, I really do have to step up, and even though I don't agree with either one of these parties, which is why I'm undeclared, I'm going to make a choice in this election. And quite frankly, although I have a choice several choices on the ballot that I might think are better, what the important thing is that everybody gets heard, because that's how democracy works. And I'm here to encourage independent voters to get out and vote. And I hope that it'll end up with a good result here for the folks in Manchester and in New Hampshire.
So here we are, less than a week away, folks. My God, I hope people vote. In particular, I hope young people vote. This is the thing that distresses me. You know, I've said this before, I'm sure. Senior citizens vote pretty well. We could do better, but we vote pretty well. And you know what the result is? They don't dare tax Social Security, although Eddie Edwards did, talking about weaning people off Social Security. But that's an exception. It ain't going to work for him. He's not going to win. He's going to get creamed.
Well, he's come out with he's come out with a very interesting tactic. I think he's using the same tactic. I think he learned it from Maura Sullivan, with him lifting weights and trying to portray Chris Pappas as somehow weak. I don't know what dog whistle he's trying to blow there, but
it's unobvious,
but I think it's ridiculous, and we don't need a guy that can win in a fight. We need a guy that's got experience and will promote our interests, and that's a local race right there. That's bread and butter pocketbook issues right here in southeastern New Hampshire. And certainly Chris knows what's needed there, and he's running a campaign that's kind of appealing to that. He's talking about how he lives his life, how he runs his business, how he provides the kind of work environment that people need, and how he wants to see that gets spread to throughout the district.
I have to say, I would be shocked, like Humphrey Bogart when he discovered gambling was going on in the Rick's Cafe. I would be shocked if Chris Pappas does not win this campaign. But
let me tell you,
don't take my word for it, because vote.
I think we cannot take anything for granted, and even up in CD2, Annie Custer has amassed a stronger war chest. I think she's run a stronger campaign than Mr. Negron. But you can't take anything for granted. We've got to get people out to vote. And I want to say,
nobody should rest on their oars here, folks.
I want to say something else. And again, I'm going to direct it to the independent, the undeclared voter, but to the partisan voter as well, the Democratic voter. Vote the whole ballot. I know I'm seeing, Bob, you're concerned about young voters.
I am.
We're seeing a lot of people out volunteering, a lot of young people getting involved, both in party politics and also in the issue groups that have been forming here in Manchester around progressive issues and other issues that are important to Democrats. And I think there's a lot of energy out there, and I think they're beginning to speak their language. Look at what the Young Democrats did as far as recruiting candidates. I don't know what the number is, and I don't want to guess, but they've got
phenomenal
high double digits of young Democrat members, members of the New Hampshire Young Democrats who are running in races. Look at the teachers and the nurses and other women who have stepped up to run. In my own Ward 8, we have Candace Moulton, never run for anything before. She's phenomenal. I've had a chance to speak with her. She's a bundle of energy, and she's got the right ideas, and she's going to, with our help, with the help of the independent voter along with Democratic voters, she's going to go up to Concord and really represent the middle class interests of Ward 8, which couldn't be more middle class. It's classic middle class. A lot of schools in Ward 8. It's a bedroom ward, and Candace is going to do a great job. Not to mention our other Democratic candidates, Erica Connors and Ryan Curran. Both of whom,
fine people.
Both of whom will go to Concord, and both of whom are. Erica's a small businesswoman. Ryan comes from a great South Manchester family, salt of the earth, middle class folks. These are people that are going to protect your interests.
Legal assistance? Is that where you?
No. He's got a job. Actually, I believe he works with an armed courier, a bonded courier. He's
okay.
He's been very interested in security and law enforcement. He's had many jobs in that field, and he's a great guy. I've known him for years, and like I said, salt of the earth, middle class. These are the kind of people that we want to be electing.
We definitely do. And by the way, folks, we hope you'll join us. The number, as always, is 640-3091. We are expecting any second here the Dean of New Hampshire political reporters and prognosticators to appear. Kevin Landrigan, I'm so excited he's going to be joining us. I know he's on his way, he isn't here quite yet, but we expect him very soon. And by the way, you want to have an exciting day, go down to the city Democratic headquarters down on South Elm Street at the corner of Hayward and Elm, and you will find a fired up group of young people. I love it when we have young people, and they're so excited, and they're so ready to participate, and they're so anxious to have you help them out. So do that. Go appear before the young people, because I tell you, I don't know what's going on the Republican side, but the Democratic side is nothing but enthusiasm and wanting to outreach and talk to voters and make the case that this is the most important midterm election we've had in many times. Speaking of midterm elections, how do you like the fact that our first term Republican candidate for the first district didn't vote in any midterm elections until he ran himself in 2016? You think that's good? You think that's a way to be a servant to the public? Eddie Edwards, he may have some credits to his name, but voting in the midterm elections is not one of them. The only one he's voted for since 2000 was 2016, when he himself was a candidate, and then he hasn't voted in the election. How does that strike you, folks? Is that the way you want your candidates to be, who seek to control the laws that are going to affect us all and have an influence on them? That this guy didn't even care to vote when he was not himself a member of that, not on the ballot himself. I mean, I just think that should be disqualifying. Tell me if I'm wrong.
There's nothing that's disqualifying anymore, Bob.
Apparently not. Apparently not.
It's a new world.
We hope to change that with this most important midterm election. Hey, Brian's telling us it's time for take our break. We like to try and do what Brian tells us. And it's please call in when we get back, 640-3091. We'll be right back, and I hope Kevin Landrigan will be here to join us at that time.
See you in just a minute.
Okay, this is the progress report for this Halloween night, October 31st. Hope the trick-or-treaters have treated you well, and you've enjoyed their costumes and their delightful enthusiasm for this.
I am going to trick-or-treat my way home, Bob. I'm hoping to collect all kinds of
people should
candy.
give you lots of treats, because I don't think in that costume they want you to be tricked. We are still expecting any second to walk Kevin Landrigan, the Dean of New Hampshire Political Reporters, to walk in here and enlighten us.
It was a great plan. It was a good idea at the time.
And we still think he's coming. We heard he's coming. I certainly hope he's coming. But here we are, only 6 days away from the midterm elections. And my God, I hope we have a huge turnout. The bigger the turnout, the better the situation's going to be for our side of the ledger.
Yep, and you know what, Bob? It sounds like we maybe have our guest arriving, and while he makes his way in, I'm going to discuss a little bit about a very important factor. A lot of times folks go out and vote, and they go because they have a particular candidate that they like. They have a particular candidate or office they want to vote for. They may want to vote for governor. They may want to vote for a congressman or a congresswoman. But it's very important. If you're there, if you're at the polls, you're in the booth, you got the pen in your hand, vote the whole ballot.
Don't stop voting.
And I have a way.
Vote down and go up.
I have a way to do that, and that's exactly it. Bottoms up. Start at the bottom. Go to the very bottom of the ballot. The two questions that we've talked about several times on this TV show. The two constitutional questions. One, Do you want to have a taxpayer standing to be able to bring claims against the state? And number two,
Yes, we do.
Do you want to have a right of privacy here in the state of New Hampshire? And
Yes, we do.
Yes, I'm glad you've come around, Bob.
I've
Yes,
come around.
Yes, we do. And then work your way up from there to the state rep races, and we'll try to talk about those and give a little bit of information, and then move your way up from there up until you get to the governor's race and the congressional races. But vote the whole ballot, please. We have a notoriously bad problem of voter drop-off after the top of the ticket.
Yeah. I think I'm important. I'm on the bottom of the ballot, folks. I want you to vote for me.
So
We're
vote
voters.
bottoms up. Remember that.
Bottoms up. Bottoms up. Hey, Kevin, thank
Yes.
you for being here.
Sure,
We
sure.
are so excited to have you back. It's
Well,
been
it's
a
great
long
to be-
time.
Has been a
As
while.
I've been saying, you're the dean of New Hampshire political reporters.
That
I
means,
can't
that means
wait
I'm
to-
old. Right.
You're old.
Yes.
You're old.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm older than you are, and
Guilty.
I always will be. So we're so excited to have you here. You've
Yeah.
been you've been participating as a questioner panel on the WMUR TV union leader debates.
Enjoyed those.
You've
Yep.
years of experience with the Nashua Telegraph back in the days
Yes.
when we actually had a state house press corps that really was staffed.
Yes.
And then you had a brief period with Channel 9, and now you're a union leader guy.
Yes, I am.
And you know more about anybody than anybody I can think of about the New Hampshire political history, and we want to hear what you have to say. Handicap these races, put it in the context of our political history.
Yeah, well, it's this is turning into a really interesting election.
I'll say.
I think after 2016, the assumption was the Democrats would have all the momentum. And certainly for a good year and a half, that was the case. I mean, Democrats winning 9 of 11 special elections.
Right.
Democrats having the highest voter turnout in a September primary in any election year. And not by a little, by like 30,
yeah.
by a third. So
Yeah,
just
way above what Bill Gardner
But in the
predicted.
past few
Right.
weeks, the big but.
Exactly. But in the last few weeks, Republicans have come home, and we're seeing a lot of enthusiasm on the ground for Republicans. And we're seeing it now in the polls. That's one of the reasons why a number of these races are tightening now. You're seeing in the first congressional district race, Eddie Edwards coming on. This
You
race
think
is
he's got a chance?
well, I think Nancy Pelosi thinks he has a chance because she wouldn't have spent $700,000 on TV ads in the last 6 days of this election, and like they're doing, unless
and
they saw
they're
this.
the typical, end of the
Right.
election, the kind
Right.
of negative ad against the opponent, which is
Exactly.
something that Chris would not have done and has not
Right.
done.
No,
So
he hasn't.
they came in to do that for him. I
Right,
guess.
right, because they feel.
So you think this fear campaign about immigration and the caravan is working?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think, people certainly have a lot of reason to be critical of this president, and he angers
Yeah.
and upsets a lot of people. But he's a salesman, and he's very good at manipulating the media, frankly, and creating a crisis. And he certainly has succeeded in doing that. There was, if you remember, some weeks ago, the Kavanaugh crisis, right?
Right.
And unfortunately for Donald Trump, that ended too quickly. It ended well for him, but it actually ended too quickly. And now we have the caravan crisis, which we all know at this table really isn't a crisis. And we know these caravans come up every year. Folks, nonprofit folks, trying to get undocumented people over the border, as many as they can, to possibly get them to be allowed to stay in this country if they're able to.
Under the asylum requirements.
Right, under asylum
Right, but
requirements.
he's created this evil mythology about this,
Exactly.
like it's
Exactly.
a mob.
Right.
Plays into that mob issue, jobs are mobs, that slogan that he's adopted. He's a master at marketing his point of view.
It does. And what's interesting about elections that people often don't get, and in every election, I learned some things and unlearned some things, and then have to learn them again. And one thing is this. Is not all negative ads are bad for your opponent. And here's a perfect example where, like I said, the Pelosi PAC, they paid this huge buy against Edwards, saying he's going to take people off pre-existing conditions and for health care insurance. and throughout the campaign, Edwards has not said that. Edwards has said any health care reform, including one that partially repeals Obamacare, has to retain pre-existing condition. But that doesn't matter. What matters is the ad has a very nice picture of Eddie Edwards, very smiling, non-threatening, great picture of Eddie Edwards. And the polls are basically showing he has more room to grow than Chris Pappas does. That the
And
polls
by that you mean they're persuadable voters.
Well,
out there.
and by that, persuadable voters in his own party, meaning 93%, the polls are showing 93% of Democrats are with Pappas, and we'll go through a wall for Pappas. With Edwards, under 85% of Republicans are with Edwards. So
he can pick up more.
And your opponent just spent a boatload of money to put on television your smiling picture and your face, and you identified as a Republican. So that raises his visibility. That's money he couldn't spend to put his pretty picture on TV.
So
you know,
it kind of a misplayed ad.
Well-
The idea of the ad buy is not necessarily a bad idea, but you got to put up a good ad that works for you.
Yeah, you
and
do.
doesn't help your opponent.
Right. And also, as I said, I thought this race was closing, but I did feel I was a bit desperate on the Pelosi PAC's part. I think Pappas could win this race without that ad, and that ad, like I said, injects this kind of uncertainty. In other words, whose voters are you turning out? Are you turning out more pro-Pappas voters, or you're actually turning out more Edwards voters? You know, when you put on an ad reminding people that he's a conservative
And the
Republican.
negative one, you're playing on the victimization issue that they've also brought up on that side of the
Yeah,
of the
and
ballot.
Democrats nationally, it's in the playbook. I mean, it works. This ad and a lot of other races has worked. This about
Yeah.
pre-existing conditions and health insurance. I mean, it's a concern of a lot of people, and not just people who are sick. It's
But
a-
in the unique configuration of what we've got here between
Right.
Manchester and Dover, it might not have might have been a backfire a little bit.
Yeah, I think, and again, especially with, you know, you have to know the landscape, right? I mean, meaning you have to know the ballpark you're playing in. The first congressional district's an R+3 district. I mean,
Yep.
you know,
Yep.
it's got more Republicans in it than it has Democrats. So if you do something to awaken all those Republicans, then the race could get even dicier. I still think Chris Pappas wins on Tuesday, but
There's
this,
a little question there.
yeah, there is a question there.
Might have closed the gap a little
This
bit in
might-
the last minutes.
Yeah, and certainly the latest poll, in the Emerson poll that came out today, 48 to 46 Pappas. So that's,
Wow.
you know, with a 4.9% margin of error.
Yeah,
So
that's tighter than I thought it was.
me too. I mean, and it's tighter than some of the other polls had shown about a week, 10 days ago.
Wow.
The race for governor has gotten closer, but and I think Molly Kelly's been a good candidate. She's gotten better as a candidate. She's gotten more articulate on the stump. I think I knew her in the state Senate, very fond of her as a person, but she wasn't a strong speaker in the Senate. That wasn't what she did really well. And the first time you run statewide like this, it's hard. It's really hard. It's not beanbag. And that's what people out there don't understand. Not everybody can
I
do
think
it.
she had a good campaign theme, at least with
Yes.
her ads.
Yep.
And as you say, I do think that she kind of got her voice
Yes.
and has it now, and
Right.
and I think she's closing strong. But I also think it's kind of funny. Chris Sununu seemed very quiet in the beginning.
Yes.
And he's doing kind of introducing Chris Sununu ads now, which I think
Right.
is a little late. Can you comment on that?
Yeah,
What do you
I
think
mean,
he's doing there?
Yeah, I think, well,
And he's got some hit people coming in hitting Molly too, but that's
yeah, well, the same. Chris has to do the same thing that Eddie Edwards has to do. Meaning, you have to wake up your base. And that's what I was talking about. Until a month ago, this race was a real problem for Chris Sununu. But that's why you did the ad. It was an introductory ad. But remember what it talked about: opposing taxes, opposing toll increases, keeping spending down. All
that stuff that
Republican
really drives
themes,
them out. Yeah.
all saying to your base voters, I need your help in this race. I need you to vote. What Sununu has more than anything else on his side is history, right? I mean, Vermont and New Hampshire.
Right.
Only
Yeah.
2 states in the country that don't have a 4-year term for governor. But voters here are fair, and they know that's really rough. You know what I mean? Meaning,
what, and-
that's hard to say to a governor. He gets elected, and then the next week he has to think about, who's my opponent? How can I raise this money? How can I get this? I got a budget to produce in like 40 days.
And our most recent example of a governor turned out after one
Yep.
term was Benson, and,
Right.
and he actually had a disastrous administration.
Yeah.
And I even have to admit that I don't think Sununu has been as disastrous as Benson was.
No.
But
No,
I'm
and he's
hoping that what the voters look at, or what the independent voters, who I'm trying to represent here,
Yep.
look at is, can you have it better?
Right.
And
certainly in this
in
race-
a so-called potential wave election, does
Right.
that carry Molly Kelly into the corner office?
Right. But in this election, I think there've been some. There've certainly been some unforced errors in this race. I mean, when Sununu referred to paid family leave as a vacation, there's an unforced error.
Yeah.
But he's done some things until this campaign that made him hard to defeat. Full-day kindergarten, a very popular program.
Saving the Bears.
Saving the Bears,
Yeah.
yeah, another,
Fixing the market basket
right.
bags.
Anti-discrimination for transgenders,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
signing
Yeah.
that bill into law, that's
That's important for a Republican.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
and
that's-
certainly for progressives too, that say look at Sununu maybe a different way when they see a vote like that. To be sure, he comes up with a permanent Medicaid expansion program. He signed into law. Now, he didn't write it. He's not the only architect of it, but he gets to sign it and he gets to own it. And that was his big Achilles heel coming into this first term. Would he be able to come up with a proposal that could get enough Republicans to support expanding Medicaid? He did, and that's why.
Because this was the year it was going to sunset, the temporary
Correct.
Medicaid expansion was, so it was up against the wall on that one.
We
Yeah.
had to do
happen.
it. That's right.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
people get thrown off their insurance, so that would have been a disaster for him.
It really would have been, and I think so. With those things,
He's not really a hero.
no, but I think those things make him the clear favorite on Tuesday. As I say, I think she's done well. I don't think she should go anywhere. I mean, this election has revealed in both parties a number of that both parties are growing their bench. I mean, there have been some really good candidates who aren't going to be successful on Tuesday, who really should think about, this not being their last campaign.
Right.
I mean, Steve Negron's a good example in the 2nd Congressional District. Very conservative, a very right-wing, but a happy warrior who's run an issue-based, not a personal campaign against Annie Custer. They both agree on that. And I think he should think seriously about staying involved in politics and finding the next campaign that works for Steve Negron if he's not successful on
Well,
Tuesday.
if you think that, then I think probably he shouldn't, but that's okay.
That
sounds a little scary
this
to me
is
up in
not
the
his
second
year.
district.
Yeah, it's really hard. I mean, that's as much as we talked about the first districts, R+3. I mean, in the 2nd district, a Republican running for president hasn't won the 2nd district since 1988.
Really?
I mean,
it's always leaned a little bit
Right.
more liberal.
And I
but,
mean, Charlie Bass is the only Republican that,
Yeah, but
since-
not everybody's Charlie Bass.
No,
he,
but
he was a.
in the last 30 years, he's the only Republican to hold that seat.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so
And like I
approach
said, I mean, Charlie, his roots go back a million years.
exactly
I mean, it's,
patrician name, pro-choice Republican. All of which Negron didn't have. I mean, even today, the polls show 75% of the voters in the district don't know who Steve Negron is. So
Yeah, he has no TV
know.
ads. He doesn't have
No.
much money.
no, and that's
You know
and-
what?
and-
What? It's time for our breaks, Mr. Independence Man over here.
Well, when we get through the break,
Mr.
we'll move
Beefy
on.
Man.
We'll move on to the.
We'll move on and talk
other
about
races.
some other things. We have the best political, knowledgeable figure in the state of New Hampshire here with us right now. It's Kevin Landrigan. Couldn't be more happy to have him here, and he's got a lot more
perfect timing.
insights to offer us. And we'll be right back after our next break. 640-3091 if you want to call in, and we welcome your participation. like it. Hey, this is the progress report for this Halloween night, October 31st. By this time next week, the votes will be cast. We'll be chewing over the results. But getting ready for that
Oh, I'm nervous.
monumental
I'm nervous.
midterm election
What's
here
it
in
going
New
to be?
Hampshire
What's going to happen?
and around the country.
You can decide, independent voter. Come on out. Vote.
We cannot do better than to have here the Dean of New Hampshire political analysts and the keeper of more historical knowledge about New Hampshire campaigns, and Kevin Landrigan, now with the Union Leader, formerly with the National Telegraph, and briefly with the Channel 9. But he's been one of the questioners in the two TV debates that Channel 9 and Union Leader have supported involving the two congressional candidates.
Two good debates too. I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do that. It's an excellent forum over there at the St. Anselm New Hampshire Institute of Politics.
Yeah.
Excellent panels assembled to ask great questions, and I think they're a good example of how we do it here in New Hampshire.
We
our
do it.
politics
I
right.
think we do it basically well. So what do you kind of given us your candy cap of the CD1 race?
Yeah.
A little bit of CD2.
Right.
A little bit of the governor's. How do you think things are looking for the State House?
Yeah, I mean, the State House, I think, is the big question. It truly is the big question, right? And the reason it's the big question is twofold. The first question mark is, as I was saying before, and you guys talked about at the opening of the show, even when you get Republicans to come home, okay, do they exercise their franchise fully? You know, in other words,
I mean, do they vote? Do they vote?
And not only do they vote, do they go? They come in and say, "I'm with Sununu," or "Ed Edwards is a good guy," and then they're out the door, and they don't go all the way down the ballot.
We used to have straight ticket voting, where you could just
Make a
mark one mark at the top
and you're done.
and walk away. You didn't even have to read the ballot.
No.
But
That
we
might
did
help
away
the
with that.
Democrats if we still had that this year, I think.
Yeah, I think
It could.
Yeah.
It could. I mean, it
But we don't,
actually, it
so
was
it's
a
a
Democratic legislature that abolished it because it had
Yes.
actually been very harmful to Democrats
Yes, it
year
had.
upon year upon year upon year.
Yep.
I have no problem with that. As much as I like simplicity of voting, I also believe that people should think and use their heads, and I
Yeah.
have no problem with the very short amount of time it takes to go down a ballot and read some names. But the more important thing is to educate yourself before you walk in. You can get sample ballots in Manchester. Go to the City of
Yes.
Manchester website. You can get a sample ballot for your ward.
Yes, you can.
And you can find out who's on the ballot, and if there's a name. And in state rep races, we've got a lot of them. There's going to be names you don't recognize. This is where people get into politics. This is probably their first race. But if you check the sample ballot early, you can go to websites, you can go to Facebook, you can find out about these people. And here's something that's very important. We have two constitutional questions on the ballot. If you read those questions and think about them and research them in advance, it's going to go a lot faster in the voting booth for you. You can walk in knowing how you want to cast your ballot on those two questions. Typically, ballot questions slow up voting because they're very long, they're very complicated, and they take time. And we're going to have a good turnout, and anything we can do to kind of keep things moving, I think, is a good thing. And being prepared before you walk in, I think, is important, too.
Yeah, no, it is. I think, and the constitutional questions is never a slam dunk. You're trying to get 2/3 of the vote. The people who've answered that question answered in the affirmative to that question. I mean, the most famous one was the question of referring to Her Excellency when the governor is a woman failed as a constitutional amendment. I mean, it's really, they really. It is motherhood and apple pie. It has to come across that way in order to pass muster with 2/3 of the
And
voters.
if it's complicated, people
Forget
like it
it.
the way it is.
They'll-
If it's
they'll
too
vote no.
complicated, I'm not going to change anything.
They'll vote no.
And
Absolutely.
that's always an issue. So I encourage folks. It's very simple. If you can do it on your phone,
Right.
Go to the City of Manchester website. We're here in Manchester. Other towns have their own ways of doing this. You can go right to the city clerk's tab, get a sample ballot for your ward, read the questions, and get yourself ready to walk.
The second point I was referring to was, which makes this really an unknown, is gerrymandering. Okay, is that at the end of the day, in most legislative districts, it's not a fair fight. It's not. I mean, the maps were drawn by Republicans, and they favor Republicans. I mean, particularly in the state Senate, where you have 14 or 15 very solid Republican districts. How'd they do that? This is a blue state. How is that possible? It's possible because you made the other districts so Democratic. In other words,
Stack up the
you know,
You
stack
give
them-
away a few to keep the majority.
Exactly. And the same is true in the House, where in the House, Democrats, the secret on Tuesday for Democrats to take control of this House, which they've done before, and they could do again on Tuesday, is to roll up margins in the cities. If they can really win nearly all the seats in Manchester, nearly all the seats in Nashua.
Includes these flotarial districts.
does.
And I live in Ward 8 in Manchester,
Yep.
which is a perfect example. Somehow, we went from 3 state reps, which we always had, to 2 for Ward 8, and then 1 that throws in Litchfield. Now, I don't think you can find 4 Democrats in the town of Litchfield. So it's very difficult for that 3rd seat to ever be a Democratic seat. We have a great candidate in Candace Moulton running there,
Right.
but it's a tough seat to win because you have a whole town against 1 ward.
Right, and some of that is all about the numbers, right? I mean, because we redraw the maps every 10 years based on the changes to the census, and percentage-wise, okay, as part of Hillsborough County, all right, Manchester got smaller than the towns around it in terms of their increase in population. So Manchester used to have 3 state reps in all their wards, 36 reps, and no longer is able to have those.
Yeah.
So, and that's what created more of the flotarials, and that's where, as I say, the Republicans
But they could have had internal Manchester flotarials
could have.
and had all the
Sure.
reps from Manchester,
Sure
but
they
they
could.
chose
We didn't do that.
No.
to reach out.
No.
You've got Hooksett, and I'm sure in yours, and
Yep.
you
I mean,
know.
that's why, unlike, and we talk about the 2-year term, that's why, to me, this election is so fascinating nationally. And why is that? Well, you've got 31 governors up for re-election, okay? And all but 2 of them who win on Tuesday will be in charge of the redistricting map in their state because they've won a
Because
4-year
of the
term.
4-year term,
And,
yes.
and in 2021,
New Hampshire,
2021, they will be the governor that signs or vetoes that redistricting map for their congressional districts, for their state senate districts, for the House districts. Because of that unlevel playing field, I think the chances of the Democrats winning the New Hampshire House Tuesday are much better than them winning the New Hampshire State Senate.
How good do you think those
know.
chances are?
I think they're decent. I do think they're decent. I think
I certainly hope
you know,
so.
because I think Democrats have done a pretty good job of recruiting candidates, new candidates. I mean, that's what's great to see, and in both parties, frankly. We know I can say it because I'm an old codger. We know the aging of New Hampshire's legislature, and it's great to see so many young candidates in their 20s,
Yeah,
in their 30s.
most of them are Democrats,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, a lot of them are Democrats, but there
Well,
are some
we were
Republicans.
just talking about
you
the
know?
fantastic job that the New
New
Hampshire
Young Democrats
did
have
to
done.
recruit
Oh, yeah.
candidates
They've
who
been
won
awesome.
their
They have
primaries.
been
Really?
They backed them during
Theo
the
Groh, you're
primaries.
doing a great job. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Well, I may have an issue about Democrats favoring particular Democrats in primaries, but we can talk about that another time. We're
time.
beyond that.
Yeah.
But they did do a great job, and they won, and that's what's important in politics. It's a game of power, and it's something that has to be.
So Kevin,
You don't win, you don't get to put in your policies.
Yeah, right.
So, Kevin, everybody talks about every midterm election as being the most important in their lifetime. We're certainly saying that this time. What's your best analogy to what we're facing here this year and the past years that you've been covering politics?
Wow.
Is there something that strikes out as you, or is this totally unique situation?
It is totally unique. I mean, with this president and what he's represented and how divisive he's been, and I don't mean that all as a negative term. I mean,
Yeah, I think it
it's
should
a
be, but
political,
probably not.
But no, it's a political strategy. I mean, it's not like he woke up on the wrong side of the bed for the first 2 years. I mean,
been very
this
effective.
it's been very effective, and this is how he governs, and this is all he knows. You know, I mean,
Right.
You know, I mean, that's
He's
a
never
part-
stopped campaigning.
No, and also in business, this is how he was. He was constantly at war with his competitors, constantly at war with the media, constantly at war with vendors
you go
and
with what you know.
contractors. Yeah, that's
All the
that's
people
what,
he stiffed and didn't pay him.
That's what he's comfortable doing. So, and that's what makes this election so fascinating. And I think the day after this midterm will make the 2020 campaign really interesting to see. I mean, because we don't know what that will look like, because we don't know what
Where
the
we're gonna
results
stand
will
after-
be on
after.
Tuesday.
Yeah,
I mean, if the
exactly.
results are really a drubbing for this president, you're going to see Democrats come out of the woodwork
Oh, yeah.
to think about running for president. I mean, we could easily have a field on the Democratic side like we had on the Republican side in
Sure.
2016.
And we probably couldn't.
with
what was
15,
it?
16
You could name them right
Democrats,
now if we
you know.
put our minds to it.
Now, if they swing and miss, right? I mean, if Republicans hold on to the U.S. Senate and still by their fingertips by like 4 or 5 seats hold on to the U.S. House, then a lot of Democrats will look at that 2020 race, look at all of Trump's money, you know, and say,
I think I'll pass.
I think I'll pass.
And not to mention,
a lot of them are young enough they can wait.
The
you know?
personal difficulty entering that race
Oh.
is going to present. You are going to have to be ready to get punched in the face every single
Totally.
day, and to get up tomorrow and do it again. It's
Yeah.
going to be a tough. We ain't seen nothing yet. I don't think. I
No.
think this is. Get ready, folks. This is going to be a tough one.
No, I
so you know that actually kind of plays into what Bob was saying. That makes this particular campaign, this election
Yeah.
in 6 days, even more important.
It is very
because it could
important.
change the complexion of what we're going to do in another 2 years.
And above all, we got the census coming up, which means we decide how we're going to rejigger our Congress,
Well, I mean,
our
the
districts for
Democrats in New Hampshire suffered a vicious fumble in 2010, and we're reaping, as we just discussed, the benefit of that.
Yes. Yes.
The disadvantage of that
Right.
today.
No, you're right.
So it's all well and good if we are able to return Democratic control to the House of Representatives and potentially the state Senate, but both nationally and in the state. But we got to follow through in 2 years because that's the election that's going to make the difference.
A lot of people, Kevin, are saying the big determinant of this election is going to be turnout. Do you agree? And
Yeah, I do.
how do you see the
I
turnout
do, and that's
going?
why I say, Bob, you know, I mean, 6 months ago, I felt like this was going to be just a real blue wave. I mean, I thought Democrats going to win up and down the ballot, and we certainly saw in September that really impressive turnout that they had.
Right.
So I don't think Democrats are staying home. I think they'll vote in large numbers.
Maybe the Republicans will too.
Yeah, I think the Republicans
Which
will.
means the swing voter, the independent voter, the undeclared voter, which I'm here to represent today, and I'm very powerful this time of year.
Powerful. Look at this.
Look at that
this. Look at this.
Well,
But
and historically, what's interesting is, as you know, historically, you're not as powerful on Tuesday as you are every 4 years, right? We have
Understood,
300,000
which is-
more voters.
Exactly,
and that's what,
and that's the question I want to ask.
Yeah.
Does the sour state of our current politics between the parties
Yeah.
turn off or inspire the independent voter in your experience in this race? What have you seen? Because it could go either way. I've talked to people that throw their hands up,
Yeah.
but I've talked to a lot of other people saying, I did that last time, and I really think I need to get involved.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
think-
curious what you think.
I think there is some buyer's remorse about the 2016 election among some independent voters. I feel we can be honest now and concede, even Democrats could concede Hillary Clinton was a flawed candidate, maybe her time had passed, and so as we see in America, after 8 years of one party, the voters said, let's try something different. And so
Not uncommon.
no. In fact, since
common,
World War II, only one president. I mean, only one
Has had the third term.
Has had that third term, and that's when Reagan handed it to Bush. And of course, 4 years later, Bush fumbled it away.
Right.
To
after
Bill
having
Clinton.
Incredible favorable ratings after the
Exactly,
You
after
know,
the Iraq
the
War.
Iraq,
the first Iraq War invasion.
Desert Storm. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. But to directly answer your question, I hope they prove me wrong. I really do. I'm worried about independent voter turnout. Because I see a lot of pox on both their houses.
Yeah,
you know, I
that's
really
my
do,
concern.
and I think the Kavanaugh thing enhanced that feeling.
Yep.
You know,
And this
How about this whole immigration thing that
Yep.
Trump is? You think that's going to work for him?
Well, I think it's turned out his base, you know, but will that be enough? And that's the question.
Yeah,
You know, I think
yeah.
nationally, I don't think it's going to be enough. Nationally, I think.
does that resonate in a place like Manchester, New Hampshire, where I think 90% of the people here, their parents or grandparents are immigrants, you know, and we're
Right.
not on the Mexican border. We don't, and you know, we can be much more dispassionate about this claim of an invasion coming in.
Right, but he's not talking to New Hampshire voters with that. I mean, look at his schedule.
Yeah,
okay,
you're right.
You know,
No,
right,
right up
he's-
the
right,
center of the country.
Exactly, and right up in the states where he won.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And many
Ohio,
of them in
Wisconsin,
states,
yep.
and many of them in states that Democrats historically had won. You know, Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, Pennsylvania. That's
Yeah.
and trade has been in many of those states. Trade has been kind of a double-edged sword.
Sure,
the good and the bad.
and we're going to bail out
Tariffs
these.
and all.
No,
Yes.
I think it's too late to take a call at this point, Bob. I think we're.
Really?
Oh,
We got 2 minutes.
No, all right, we'll take Sandy. But before we do that, I want to talk about quickly. We're pumping millions of dollars to provide tariff relief to our Midwestern farmers, while our the Treasury is going to issue more debt this year in the trillions than they've ever issued before. So we're going to borrow to pay ourselves.
Hey, Sandy,
Sandy, you're on the air.
you got just
Hey, Mike.
you haven't got long.
Mike's not
Mr.
here.
Fowley and Bob and Mr. Kendrigan.
Yeah.
yes. Hey,
You got to make it quick, Sandy. We
I
only
just
have
wanted to tell you, I
30
already
seconds.
voted. I did my duty. I passed it in a week and a half ago. I'm heading for Louisiana. I love your outfit.
I appreciate that.
What-
It took a lot of courage.
I made a bunch of candy apples, and I went up and down my street, and all the young people that had little kids, I gave out candy apples.
Well, Sandy,
They know
that's-
me anyway, so
that's
they-
great.
They took them. They said, "Oh, what a nice surprise." So Roger and I really didn't feel like answering the doors tonight, off and on for 40 times. You know.
I don't blame
So
you,
I said,
Sandy,
"Hey, that's
but-
what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to each of the houses."
Sandy,
And I know which ones have 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, whatever.
Sandy, we
Anyway,
need
so
to
that's
we need
what
to
I'm
have
heading
your.
to Louisiana. My
Sandy,
granddaughter's
we're out of
having,
time.
Told you,
her
Bob.
second, we're having our second great grandchild.
Congratulations, Sandy, but we have to let you go because the show's over.
thank you.
Yes, I know.
Thanks
I
for
know.
calling.
That's what the fellow said before. He said, "I'll only take you a minute anyway." Anyway, it was very nice listening to you, and I love
Great.
your costume.
Thanks for
And,
calling,
And,
Sandy.
take care, Bob, and I'll probably talk to you guys. Well, I won't be back till the 15th. I believe
All
on
righty,
the
we'll
5th.
talk to you then. Thank you very
Okay.
much,
Yeah.
Sandy. So sorry, Sandy, but with the show's
all I can say,
wrapping up.
Kevin, it's always wonderful
Oh,
to have
yeah,
you
it's
with
great.
us. I
Anytime.
mean, your insights are
Oh, fantastic.
so
I really
well
enjoyed it.
done. And we really appreciate your coming on. We'll have you back soon.
Sounds
We
good.
couldn't have a better guest to be the last wind-up before we get on to the
Don't forget to
actual
vote.
result.
Yeah, everybody vote.
Don't
vote the whole
forget to
ballot.
vote, my God, vote. Especially if you're a young person, vote. Please vote. We'll be back next week. I'll be with Lou D'Alessandro right here next week in this chair. We'll chew over the results. And everybody have a wonderful Halloween, what's left of it. Enjoy your costumes. Enjoy the kids if they haven't come around. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching, folks.